All right, buckle up, everyone, because we are diving deep into the world of Forex today.
Correct.
We're going way beyond those, like, trade from your phone ads you see everywhere.
Yeah.
And really going to uncover why understanding Forex is kind of like having, I don't know, X-ray vision into how global power really works.
Absolutely.
And for this deep dive, we're dissecting partners and why Forex.pdf.
Great source.
Which, by the way, reveals some seriously wild stuff about this whole world.
You're going to start seeing things in the news, especially like conflicts, economic stuff, totally differently.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like I knew Forex was big. Like everyone says it's this massive market.
Yeah.
But this source, it says trillions of dollars are trading hands daily.
Every single day.
It's like mind-blowing. Like the stock market's the corner lemonade stand compared to this. But here's the thing that really got me. The source says 95% of that trading, it's not even regular people like you or me.
Oh, no.
It's governments and these like mega financial institutions making huge moves.
It's exactly that. And that's where it gets so interesting.
Right.
See, most people think Forex, it's just another way to trade, like stocks or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
But it's actually the lifeblood of how the entire global economy works.
Really?
When these governments and these big institutions, when they trade currencies, they're not just like, trying to make a quick buck.
No, they've got bigger fish to fry.
They're managing entire national treasuries. It's about influence, power on a global scale.
Okay, so if Forex is this like high-stakes poker game for global power,
Chuckles.
who's holding the winning hand right now?
Well, just look at what currencies are actually being traded.
Come on.
The U.S. dollar, it's involved in something like 85% of all Forex transactions. It's still the world's dominant reserve currency. Meaning it's the currency everyone wants to hold, everyone wants to trade in.
Okay, makes sense. But how did the U.S. dollar end up the king of this whole currency castle?
It's a story. It goes all the way back to the end of World War II.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Europe, totally devastated. And the U.S., well, they came out on top, relatively unscathed.
Right.
And they stepped in to kind of establish a new world order, right?
Uh-huh.
Part of that was a new global financial system. And right at the heart of it, the U.S. dollar.
So everyone just agreed, like, yep, the U.S. dollar, that's the top dog now.
Essentially, yeah. They called it the Bretton Woods Agreement, pegged the U.S. dollar to gold, gave other countries confidence, because in theory, they could always redeem their dollars for actual gold.
So everyone wanted U.S. dollars because they were as good as gold, literally.
Exactly.
But then things get a little, I don't know, risky, right?
Right, because as the decades went on, the U.S., well, they kept printing more and more dollars.
Oh, boy.
Some countries like France, they started getting nervous. They were holding billions of these U.S. dollars. But
they were starting to wonder, do they actually have the gold to back this up?
Yeah, exactly. They started to have doubts.
And that's not a good feeling when you're talking about that much money.
Not at all.
So what did they do?
Well, in 1971, France, they decided to call the U.S.'s bluff. They send a warship.
A warship?
Loaded with U.S. dollars to America. Their plan was to demand gold in exchange.
No way. Are you serious?
Dead serious. It was a huge power move, very public way of saying, we don't trust you anymore.
They sent a warship full of cash. What were they thinking?
I think they wanted to make a statement, put some pressure on the U.S., but, well, it didn't quite work out how they hoped. While that French warship was sailing across the Atlantic,
oh, man,
Nixon makes a decision.
Okay.
That would change, well, global finance forever. He announces the U.S. is abandoning the gold standard.
So wait, they're like, yeah, we don't actually have enough gold to cover all these dollars, but just, trust us.
Basically. It was a huge gamble, but it worked.
Wow.
This is when the world really shifts to this system of fiat currency.
Fiat currency.
Where the value isn't tied to like a physical thing, like gold, but to how strong, how stable that country's economy is. When Nixon takes the U.S. off the gold standard, he's basically betting the world will keep believing in the U.S. dollar.
Even with no gold to back it up.
Exactly.
And, I mean, it's been, what, like 50 years? And that bet's paid off.
It has.
But that trust, that belief, it feels kind of fragile, doesn't it? Like, what's stopping the whole thing from just collapsing?
Well, the U.S. has put a lot of effort into making sure that doesn't happen. Remember we were talking about France feeling like they had to send a warship full of dollars just to get some of their gold back?
Yeah.
That wasn't just a random event. It shows the power dynamics at play.
Right.
The U.S. has and continues to, throw its weight around to keep the dollar on top.
So it's not just about having a strong economy.
A strong economy is key, Absolutely. That's the foundation. But the U.S. also uses its political muscle, its military might, to keep the dollar dominant.
This source mentions the U.S. spends more on its military than, like, the next 30 countries combined.
Exactly. That's a message.
It's definitely a message.
Think about it. If you're another country, even a powerful one, and you're thinking about doing something that might hurt the U.S. dollar,
You're going to think twice.
you're going to think twice, because that military might, it's a huge deterrent.
It's like, hey, we prefer it if you use our currency, and also we have a really, really big military.
It's a bit more nuanced than that,
Okay, sure.
but you're not wrong, and it's not just about, hard power like that either.
Who knows?
The U.S., it has a ton of soft power through things like controlling key technologies.
Oh.
Think about how global these U.S. tech giants are, the way they control how information moves, the power they have online.
It's true. They're everywhere, and we're all plugged into it, whether we realize it or not.
Exactly. So you add it all up, the economic strength, the military, the tech dominance.
It's a pretty strong case for sticking with the U.S. dollar.
It is, at least for now.
So we've talked about how the dollar got to be on top and why other countries haven't really challenged it.
Right.
But this whole trust thing, it still feels like it's on shaky ground, Like,
Yeah.
what is the U.S. actually doing day to day to keep the dollar strong?
That's where it gets really interesting. It's not like there's this, rule book or something, but there are definitely patterns.
Okay, like what?
Well, remember those trade deals and sanctions we mentioned earlier? Those aren't just about, economic competition between countries.
There's more to it.
A lot of times it's about the U.S. pushing for those transactions to happen in, you guessed it, U.S. dollars.
So they're like, you want to trade, use dollars.
Basically, yeah, they're shaping the whole financial landscape to benefit, them.
And this source also mentioned international development loans, right? Those are often in U.S. dollars too, aren't they?
Exactly, which further cements the dollar's dominance,
Yeah.
It's like they lend money, it gets used, more dollars out there.
It's a cycle. The more the world uses the dollar, the harder it is to imagine using anything else, even if there are other good options.
It's self-perpetuating at this point, but that brings up a good question. Why should all this matter to the average person?
Right, like I'm not out here trading currencies on a daily basis.
Most people aren't. But understanding this whole Forex situation, it can be really empowering, actually.
Oh.
It helps you see motivations behind global events. You can see through the politics of it all.
And even make smarter decisions about our own money.
Absolutely. Think about it. When you see news about trade wars, about countries fighting, even stuff about tech companies competing,
It's all connected back to this.
a lot of it is, understanding currency, who controls it, who wants to control it. It gives you a whole new perspective.
It's like I've been watching a movie my whole life and didn't realize there was this whole secret plot going on underneath.
That's a great way to put it.
This deep dive, it's definitely given me a lot to think about.
That's the goal, right? Start asking the right questions, like what's really driving this conflict? Why is this trade deal so important? Who wins if this currency gets used instead of that one?
So it's about more than just trading. It's about understanding the forces that are shaping our world, really.
Exactly. And that understanding, it's more important now than ever, I'd say.
I totally agree. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for, breaking all of this down for us.
Happy to do it. Always great to chat about this stuff.
And for our listeners, we want to know what you think. What's been in the news lately that made you think about the U.S. dollar? What challenges do you think it might be facing in the future?
Yeah, good question.
Hit us up on social media. Let's keep this conversation going. And until next time, keep exploring.